How's it going, everybody? Welcome to week 2. Hopefully you're getting used to the class and the pace and the format of these summer courses and how things are set up on my end. Hopefully you're figuring out how to sort of fit it in the routine on your side as well. So yeah, this week we're sort of finishing up the last sort of phase round of this course, this sort of introduction of we've gone from lesson 1, Big Bang, Paleolithic, Neolithic, which some people wrote about, the sort of transition to complex societies and their discussion posts, which I've gotten back to everybody. I did those yesterday. Yeah, and then kind of the emergence of civilization on a global scale, right? So we started in Mesopotamia and Egypt, and as we can see now, that one reason we did that is because they have really good records. They both have writing. One of the other questions was compare and contrast. They both developed a system of writing. Though they're different, right? Cuneiform and hieroglyphs are two different styles of writing. Rivers are important, which we'll see throughout most of the emergence of civilizations, though not all. Right, now we can kind of see some differences. So first one, right, Asia, Indus. We have the Indus River. The Indus Valley civilization has cities, infrastructure, trade, economies. Presumably social structure, status. It has a system of writing, but here's our first sort of glitch, right? Is it is yet to be deciphered, right? There like big long texts haven't been found. These little seals with presumably writing on them or some sort of notation that we're not quite sure of yet. I'm sure sometime soon somebody will find something. The Rosetta Stone of the Indus is out there, and then hopefully that'll give us a little more insight to this world. But we can take what we know about. I mean, this is what historians do, right? Is they take what they know about other civilizations that are better known, that's Mesopotamia and Egypt, and they can apply it and infer that these kind of things exist in other contexts. So we assume that there was probably some sort of aristocracy, nobility. We infer that there was some sort of religion, and then artifacts and things that look religious, we can kind of start putting together and piecing together. So we know a little bit about the Indus, but not fully. And then the Indus does decline. This new group comes in, the Aryans of Veda and their Vedic society. They bring their religion, the Vedas, with them, written in this language of Sanskrit, which now is this Indo-European language we talked about. And so that's these Indo-European language families, those Indo from India all the way to Europe. So that's why English is related to Hindi, right, through these Indo-European world and languages. And then a lot of scholars, linguists, right, this is how they kind of can go back in time and see how languages and language families are connected, and then through that see how people spread. And when we looked at Oceania, that most Polynesian languages are Austronesian, right? And they have cognates, similarities in syntax and grammar, and also words, like the word for water, vai, or canoe, waka, va'a, vaka, which I put in the lecture there. So I guess Lima 5 is a big one that goes throughout many Austronesian languages as well. So, and we talked about the Bantu language family of sub-Saharan Africa, shows that they're interconnected, so it shows groups linguistically were connected some way, and then probably with that culturally as well. So and I gave you a reading of the Vedas. One of those was like sort of the social system, the Varna system there. And then China we looked at, they had a system of writing with these oracle bones. We talked about the Shang and then the Zhao, sort of the first unification of China with this idea of the mandate of heaven. We looked at Jomon period of Japan, also early societies in Korea. That again, so you can kind of see the relationships between them as well. That Korea kind of looks to the Shang China as the formation of its state system. So you see the connections there. And then the Americas, the Americas and Oceania, sort of the last, people had to go there. They're furthest away from Africa, right? So people came there a little bit later. And we talked about this sort of revisioning of the two competing theories, probably not competing, but complementary theories of the peopling of the Americas. One, sort of some people came over land, but now it looks like some people also came by sea, the coastal migration theory. I gave you a really dense article. I don't expect you to read that one, but I do want, just if you're interested in doing like scholarship, serious scholarship or STEM stuff, it's a really good article to kind of show you exactly how how this evidence is gathered and how it is explained to support new theories, right? It is very dense. It's a lot of archaeology and data testing, carbon testing. But it shows you that you need, if you're going to come up with this new theory, you really need to back it up with facts and evidence, right? You can't just like make a blog post or put something on YouTube and say, hey, this is this new idea, right? The pyramids were built upside down or something like that. If you're going to say that, you need conclusive evidence. And hopefully that article, I think that's the only serious scholarship thing I'll show you, and just give you a sense of how these ideas are formulated. It's about Sierra Madre down in Chile. And then and then we talked about sort of the regions and different areas that get settled. The Mayans, early sort of complex society civilizations in Central and South America emerged there. And then Oceania, as we mentioned, sort of the Austronesian peoples moved in, spread out, brought their language and their plants, the canoe plants, and their culture, Maui stories with them. Lapita peoples, sort of from Samoa, Tonga areas. Vanuatu, all the way to New Caledonia, brought in these new plants, terraformed these islands, kalo and sugarcane, ulu, all of these things, and plants and animals they brought with them on their voyaging canoes. So that's kind of that. And then that gets us to quiz 1. So again, I gave a sort of recording of quiz 1 for you to look at. But again, just to remind you, it's due Friday, I believe. There's 4 different sections: maps, fill in the blank, matching, and then the 5 W's. Take a look at those. So it'd be 5 terms. You pick 3 of those terms, and answer the who, what, where, when, and then why. And in the why section, I want you in your own words to explain why this term is significant to world history. Show me how it connects into a larger picture. In that explanation, use at least one term from the associated term from the review guide. So, I think it's pretty straightforward. Do let me know if you have any questions. And again, these should be in your own words. So explain to me. Show this the 5 W's is where you can kind of put in your own ideas. And then just a reminder that Lamaku is going to automatically grade the first sections, so 35 points through there. The last 5 W's is 15 points that I have to grade on my own. So if you get a 35 out of 50, you haven't failed. I just have to grade the 15 points there. Then on Friday, you have the artifacts. So since we've discussed a lot of these early civilizations, pick an artifact from one of those that we've discussed in this course and explain its, where it is, where it's found, how it was found, what is this object, and then most importantly, how it relates to this society. What can we learn about this society through this artifact? Be historians, be archaeologists. Explain that a little bit in your own words, using the course materials that we've learned about in your responses. So I think that's it. Have a good rest of your week.